boogeyman.
As a matter of fact, it was.
Samhain. It means the Lord of the Dead, the end of summer.
10 years ago, he tried to kill Laurie Strode. Now he wants her daughter. Michael, go home! Go home!
This thing that lived inside of him came from a source too deadly for you to imagine it.
He's dead. Michael Myers is dead.
I knew you'd come for me sooner or later. What took you so long?
These are the eyes of a psychopath. Michael Myers is fucking dead! D-E-A-D!
Do you know that I pray every night that he would escape so I can kill him? Happy Halloween, Michael.
All right, it's time to end this retrospective review series with Halloween 2018. This movie stars Jamie Lee Curtis, Judy Greer, Andy Matichak, and James Jude Courtney as Michael Myers. This movie came out almost a whole decade after Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. This one was going to be written and directed by the people who made the Saw movies, Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan. It was going to take place at a prison, and he was going to escape. He was on death row, but then that just never happened for some reason. I would have been interested to see that, but it never happened. That's unfortunate. But the script is out there, I read. Maybe I'll read that one day. But instead we got this. This one was written and directed. This was directed by David Gordon Green, written by him, also with Danny McBride, and this movie's plot synopsis goes as follows. It's been 40 years since Laurie Strode survived a vicious attack from Michael Myers on Halloween night. Locked up in an institution, Myers manages to escape when his bus transfer goes horribly wrong. Laurie now faces a terrifying showdown when the masked madman returns to Haddonfield, but this time she's ready for him. Just like all my other reviews, this will be a in-depth spoiler discussion. I already did a spoiler-free review for this back when it came out in 2018, and my thoughts have remained relatively the same on this movie. I really like it. I don't, love it, but it's definitely, top 5 for me in the franchise. And let's get into it. So, the first thing I want to talk about here is the title. I don't like the title. I hate it. Because now when you talk about this movie with other fans of the franchise, you have to say what year it came out in. Halloween Kills has a subtitle. Halloween Ends has a subtitle. Why couldn't they call this one Halloween Returns? Halloween H40? Something else besides Halloween. I can't stand this trend that's going on today with Scream 5 being Scream. Candyman 2021 is Candyman. I'm sick of it. It's just a little lazy to me. So we're automatically introduced to Michael Myers at Smith's Grove, where he was before in the original, and this movie's going to have a lot of callbacks, so I'm just going to save all the callback and Easter egg talk for the very end. So let's just save all that shit for there. I'm not going to just keep talking about it, and then they did this, just like in this movie, and then this, and like in this movie. I'm just going to save it all for the end. So we see Michael Myers, and he's got the same scars, so I like that attention to detail. From the first one, he got hit in the neck with the knitting needle. He got hit in the eye with the hanger, so they pay attention to that. So I like that. And we see he's balding, probably from wearing masks for too long. And so they have the mask, and they explain it. I'm glad they threw that line in here. Otherwise, I'd be here how did they get the mask? But they have connections, so they have the mask, and I like that the mask in this movie looks like it's 40 years older, it's aged, so I really like the look of the mask in this movie, and that's another huge plus. I love the look. Kudos to the effects people who made the mask, Christopher Nelson, and finally, it's why couldn't the other sequels do this? What was so hard about recreating the original mask? They show in this movie that it's possible, so just fucking do it. So these podcasters, they are trying to interview a man who they know doesn't talk, so I'm not sure what they're trying to gain from him, what kind of knowledge they're hoping to get. They know he doesn't talk, and he hasn't talked for 40 years, and they think that they're just so special that he's going to open up to them. I don't know what they expect him to say. They keep saying, say something, and then even the doctor later on, say something. Anything, please, just say hello. Anything will suffice. What is he going to say? Nothing. There's nothing he's going to say that's going to blow your mind. So I just think that whole aspect of the movie is just weird. And another thing is the fact that he's holding the mask behind Myers, and he's like, you can feel it, can't you? And like he knows what he's holding. How about you go around in front of him and then hold it there instead of being behind him?
You can feel it, can't you? It's a part of you, Michael. It's a part of you.
The fact that they're ignoring all the sequels makes this scene make a little less sense, because he's like holding the mask and he's like, you can feel it, can't you? Like it's a part of you. It's like it's not special to him. He wore it for one day. This movie is ignoring everything after part 1. So he wore the mask for like 12 hours or so just to blend in on Halloween night. It's not special to him. He doesn't give a shit about it. He's probably never thought about that mask in 40 years. And now you're just holding it like, you love it. You want it. Like, you can feel it. It's a part of you. It's like, no, it's not. I don't get this dialogue. I just wish this whole scene would have been written differently. You know, you can still have them show up and try to talk to him, but the whole holding the mask, saying what they're saying, and then everybody starts like screaming and just going wild, and then like builds to the credits. I just think that's a little just forced. Like everyone just going mad because of the mask, and they make it seem like the mask has like this supernatural power to make everybody go nuts. I don't know. I just don't like this opening that much. But I love the opening credits, the pumpkin slowly inflating, you know, symbolizing the franchise coming back to life. Awesome. What a great, just nostalgic trip. You know, just seeing the pumpkin back again. We haven't seen a pumpkin like intro like this since what, Halloween 5? My biggest problem with this movie overall, I still enjoy it, but it's the writing really. Just dialogue and just how things are set up and done. Like, it's just very contrived. There's a lot of things in here that I feel are just forced. You know, there's a lot of callbacks that some of them just kind of feel heavy-handed. Like, there's just too much here that seems like a stretch. Like, so for instance, we got these podcasters who want to tackle this case that's 40 years old, and it's just like not that believable because this guy killed 5 people, and we've had much bigger, better cases since that are more interesting to investigate. There is a line though when they're talking to Laurie and they explain like, we like to look at older cases with an unbiased lens, but this case wouldn't really be all that interesting. So I just think this is a little forced. Like, would they even give a shit about this case? And they even have a character later on in the movie kind of point this out. Like, they knew while writing the movie that, like, yeah, this is a bit of a stretch. Like, so let's just point it out and make fun of ourselves. But another thing that just feels a little forced here is Laurie's obsession and how fucked up she is. Like, I could buy it if Myers was still out there, but he's captured. He's at Smith's Grove for 40 years. Think about how long that is. After, like, 10 years, I think you would just give up at some point. Like, it's 40 years later, and she still thinks that at some moment he's going to escape just to get her. Like, she thinks she's really damn special in this movie. She's kind of narcissistic. Like, she's hot shit. Like, later on, she's like, he's waited for this night. He's waited for me. He's coming for me. He wants me. It's like, no, he has to be forced to you for your plan to even work. Like, he was never coming to you ever. So the whole doctor thing in here is written just to get these two together because they took away the family element, and I like that.
Wasn't it her brother who, like, cold-blooded mutilated all those teenagers?
No. That's just a bit that some people made up to make him feel better, I think.
But because they took the family brother-sister thing away, now they have to write this crazy doctor character to get them to meet, to force it, to force it to happen. And, like, why is she even still in Haddonfield? Like, if you're this fucked up about it, why won't you just move and change your name like you did in H2O? That made sense. This doesn't as much. Like, it's just the fact that he's captured and she's still like this that makes it unbelievable to me. Like, if it was like a year or two later and he was captured, I could still maybe buy it. Like, maybe he's gonna break out on the anniversary. He could still, like, he might still be thinking about me, but it's 40 fucking years later. And I don't like that he's captured. The ending of part 1 was so great because he was out there. He's the boogeyman. And we see all those shots at the very end, and we just hear his breathing. But then you get to this one, And it just kind of stomps on that ending. Like, no, he got captured like right away. And also the fact that we know her plan's not going to work is just another thing that I kind of take issue with, because, you know, because we're getting Halloween Kills, we know her plan's not going to work. So it's like, really, you have 40 years to plan all this out, and it still doesn't work. And your plan only works if some doctor loses his mind and wants to observe Michael in the wild, as he says. So it's like, your plan has to bank on some shit that would like never happen. I do like that she has long hair, though. I like that they brought back that look instead of doing the short hair look in Halloween H2O. And she's still got the knife scar on her shoulder and everything. So I like that. And she calls him the boogeyman still. But then in the same conversation, she calls him a human being. So which one is it? Is he like a monster boogeyman, or is he just a human being? And then later on, she calls him the Shape. And I just thought that was a little silly. Like, no one ever called him that. That's just for the fans. She said that for the fans of the franchise to kind of cheer in that moment. Like, oh, look, she said the Shape. She said it. This was the first time anyone ever said it. He was only called the Shape in the credits. I already kind of brought it up, but just to say it again, a positive is the brother-sister thing being eradicated. That was just a bad, drunk decision that Carpenter made in Halloween 2. I'm glad that's gone. Thank you. All right? He's just pure evil, out to kill in this movie. He's not motivated to kill just family members anymore. So thank you. I'm glad that's gone.
Oh, mother! Oh, man. I got peanut butter on my penis.
Ew, Dad.
The character of Ray I do not like, and really just a lot of these characters I don't care for, outside of Laurie, Myers, and, you know, Allison's fine, but just Karen and her husband, I just don't like their performances, like Karen in one moment, but Ray, like as soon as we see him, he's talking about killing mice and then getting peanut butter on his penis. He feels like such a throwaway character by the end. He does literally nothing. He has no importance. He does nothing to help anybody. He just gets killed and nobody sheds a tear for him in the end. So get rid of the character if you're not going to do anything. If his death isn't going to have like an emotional impact, it's not going to be a gut punch to some of the other characters. No one finds out. Laurie knows, but the wife doesn't, and neither does the daughter. I like the friends, though, of Allison. Vicky and Dave. I like the chemistry between all of them. I know I said I was going to talk about all the callbacks and shit at the very end, but I just want to point this one out because this is the one that kind of bugs me, because we already did this in Halloween H2O, and that's the whole classroom scene. She looks out the window. Instead of Myers, she sees Laurie, and PJ Souls is the teacher. Like, I like that, but it was too much with her talking about fate, and then the way the scene's shot, and she's right by the window. She looks over, she sees Laurie stalking her. It's just, we've already done this before in H2O, and this just feels a little heavy-handed. It's too much. The person who does the Dr. Loomis impersonation in this movie is 1,000 times better than the one we got in H2O. That guy sounded nothing like Loomis. At least this guy has moments where it sounds pretty damn close. It's funny how in this franchise, every time Myers is about to be transported, it's always within a day or two before Halloween, like in Halloween 4, and now we got this one once again. So it's just convenient for the plot. This has to happen right before Halloween. We can't have this movie take place in June or something and have him break out then. It has to be Halloween. I get it, but I have to point it out because it's kind of a convenience. But the fact that Laurie isn't the one that breaks him out, I don't like. And I don't like it, especially because we find out that Dr. Sartan is the one who breaks him out. Like, if it was just Myers breaking himself out, I'd be fine with that. But they set it up in a way where it seems like Laurie's going to break him out when she's, like, drunk out of her mind, and she's going through PTSD, sitting there watching it go by. They make it look like it's going to be her, and that would have been pretty cool if she did do that, and then it would be, like, her responsibility to get rid of the monster, and every death that happens from here on out is her fault. And for some reason, Myers doesn't kill the doctor when he frees him. Like, Myers would kill him. Like, he's just hiding in the back to get shot later on. So Karen's character is supposed to be 40 years old max, because this is 40 years later, but the actress they hired is like 44 or 5, you know, around the time this was filmed. So it's like Laurie got busy quick, so she has to be at least at the most 40, but she looks like she's at least 40. So That means that Laurie got busy pretty quick after that night in 1978, just like she did when she had Jamie Lloyd in Halloween 4. She got pretty busy quick in that one too. Speaking of Karen, I don't like Judy Greer's character in this movie. I don't like the performance that she gives when she's retelling the story about her childhood. It was a wrong way to approach that scene. I mean, she's a good actress in other movies and TV shows. I love her character in Archer. But this scene, I just do not like it. It sounds like she said the story 1,000 times and she's just sick of it. I like the scene when they see all the loonies running around, just like in the beginning of Halloween, and that guy's dad, like that little kid, his dad looks like his grandpa. When I saw this movie for the first time, I was like, that's his grandpa, right? But he kept calling him dad, and it confused me. I was like, dude, this guy looks like he's fucking like 60. He's like, come on, Dad. I'd rather be out dancing, not hunting. And then I thought it was a little idiotic to just get out of the car. Like, when you see that, like, I would just go. Keep going. You can call the cops as you drive away. But he just wants to be good Samaritan and be like, hey, you guys need some help? Like, clearly they're in hospital outfits. Like, they're just escaping from the, mental institution not too far away. Like, I don't know. Maybe he just thought they were regular hospital patients. They weren't psychos. They weren't, I don't know. Like, why would you get out of the truck? But it has to happen for Myers to get this car, so. And we get to see a kid die, which was shocking to see, especially in like a mainstream horror movie, wide release in America. Like, you don't see that in American films very much. A kid getting strangled like that and then his neck broke. Awesome. That is one of the highlights of this movie right there. So then the podcasters decide to go to the cemetery, and we don't ever really get to see the Myers house, though. I just realized that. We don't see the Myers house in this movie at all. But they decide to go to the cemetery to visit the grave, so I guess they took it out of, the Wallace house and brought it back to the cemetery. Myers sees them there, and that's how he's able to follow them to the gas station, so I like that. It's just kind of a coincidence that they bumped into each other, I guess, that they both decided to visit the grave at the same time. But whatever. So Myers is still... Was he, about to steal the tombstone again? That's why he was there? Like, oh, I guess I can't do it now. These people are here. I'll just wait till they leave. And so, big callback to Halloween 4 is how he gets his mechanic's outfit, goes to the filling station and kills the mechanic, gets the outfit, and I love how subtle that is. Like, you don't even see it, really, because it's, so far in the back. Like, the first time I watched this, I didn't see it at all. It was on my second video. I was like, wait, you can see Myers back there just beating the shit out of somebody. And then there's a lot of good aftermath deaths in this movie. Like earlier with the guy's dad with the neck snapped back, and this guy with his jaw ripped open, his teeth pulled out. Fucking brutal. That's another positive for this movie, is the kills and the Myers portrayal. The brutality of Myers is top-notch in this movie. The kills are a good blend of on-screen and off-screen, but the off-screen aftermath makes up for the fact that it was off-screen. It's a good payoff. Like, oh, that's what happened to that person, and it's gruesome. So good effects in here. It's just awesome. I love how many kills are in this movie, and supposedly there's going to be 10 times more in the next movie. One thing this movie gets right that Halloween 4 did not is Michael Myers' middle initial. It is A for Audrey, not M. This bathroom scene is phenomenal, and it puts Halloween H2O to shame. That bathroom scene was awful. What a wasted opportunity. This movie makes up for it. It's also kind of like a callback to Rob Zombie's Halloween, with the brutality of the guy getting slammed up against the door, just like Joe Grizzly, bitch. And the teeth thing, I like it, but is it something Myers would do? Like, he's been walking around for a while with those teeth in his hand, like, where's that girl at? I want to show her something. Just holding on to those teeth. But, he did the ghost sheet thing in Halloween 1, so he's playful still. Even at 61 years old, he's a playful dude. And just the music in this scene, the acting from these two, the fact that this guy has to watch his girlfriend die as he slowly fades out, just bleeding to death, or, I think he's dead. I don't know. Maybe he'll come back for the next movie, because we don't really see him die, but we can just assume that all that, trauma to the head, all the banging around and shit would probably kill him, so I'm assuming he's dead. And then we get the shot of him putting the mask on, and this is a much better shot of Myers retrieving a mask than the one we got in Halloween 4. The way he puts it on in this movie, the way it's shot, it's done right. Another scene that makes me not like Karen's character is just how much of a hippie she is. She's like, oh, the world's full of peace and love, Mom. Like, that line makes me roll my eyes so hard every time I hear it. I can't stand that scene. Especially since her useless husband is right next to her, talking about how, I know jujitsu, I know kung fu. Like he's Busta Rhymes in Resurrection. Just, don't like this scene. And the fact that Laurie's pointing a loaded gun at Ray, man, she's off her rocker.
I'm gonna pick that one over on the front street. Oh, what the fuck? Hey, sorry about that.
And then the best scene in this movie happens after that terrible scene I was just talking about with Ray and Karen. The long tracking shot, walking down the street, Myers with no motivation. He's not after a specific person anymore. He's just going up and down the street, killing people. Kind of like what Sheriff Brackett said in part 1, we got people lined up in rows. You're telling me they're lined up for the slaughterhouse or something like that? Maybe I'm paraphrasing, but this is what's happening. He's going house to house, butchering people, and I guess he's left-handed, because when he picks up that hammer, he picks up the knife, I swear it's his left hand, right? So this is left-handed Myers, and he's using his right hand later on, so I guess he's ambidextrous. But then we get the hammer kill off camera. That's a good off camera kill. And then he walks by the baby. And I remember being in the audience. I didn't think he was going to kill the baby, not for a second. But I remember hearing everybody in the audience just catching their breath. They thought that he was going to pick up the baby and throw it out the window or some shit. Or just stab real quick in the crib. Just hear that baby stop crying. That would have made this movie 10 out of 10. If he killed that baby, fuck yeah. You know me. I like movies to take risks like that. Just fucking kill a child. Go for broke. All right, Myers is pure evil. Pure evil would kill that baby. So maybe Myers does have a heart. But then he goes next door. And again, just long tracking shot. Just keeps going. Trick-or-treaters. This is the most autumn feeling scene in the movie. Because the whole movie overall, I will say, doesn't really feel like Halloween that much, but this is the scene that captures that feeling. And, he goes around the house, and just the brutality of this kill too. Yeah, it's a little CGI, but it's not that noticeable. He just bangs her head down. He doesn't just walk up and stab her. He grabs her by the hair first, slams her head down, and then stabs her through the throat. Awesome. That is just absolutely mean-spirited shit that we did not get from Nick Castle. Holy shit. That Myers would not be acting that way, but this one, 40 years later, he's extra pissed off. So then we get the whole party scene, and we're seeing that this guy's cheating on his girlfriend, and all this is happening to get the girlfriend out of there. But first, before she leaves, he has to throw her phone in some pudding, and then we never see him again. The fact that that character does not die in this movie, and I'm thinking maybe he's going to pop up in the next movie, hopefully, and get killed brutally like he deserves. Hopefully that happens. But the fact that he doesn't die in this movie is a sin. Usually when slasher movies, they build up dick characters like that, it's because there's a payoff coming. So I'm supposed to hate this person, and it's going to be extra satisfying and cathartic later on when they get it. But then we never see him again. So it's again, it's the writing. I talked about earlier, another part of the writing I don't like here is just they throw in these characters to serve their one purpose, and then when they do that, they're gone. All right, I did my bit. I did what I'm supposed to do. Bye. I threw your phone in the pudding, so now you can't get in contact with people, and now, it's inconvenient to you now. Bye-bye. And then Dr. Sartan, same thing. He does his one purpose. He breaks out Myers and then takes him to Laurie, and once he does that, Myers is like, oh, yeah, thank you. You brought me to Laurie. I don't need you no more. Stomps his head in. So it's just we got two characters in here that once they do what they're supposed to do, we don't see them anymore. One thing I haven't talked about yet, surprisingly, is the score. The score is fantastic. It has a lot of cues from the original, during that tracking shot and the opening credits, but then we got new music, original music from John Carpenter, and I think his son also. awesome. Like the air raid siren, like that's a great sound. It's very terrifying. I just love the music in this movie, so that is another great aspect of the film.
If I had some other kind of babysitter, she'd be reading me a story. I wouldn't be up clipping my nasty ass toenails.
Go to bed.
Now, another thing I don't really care for in this movie is the comedy. We have Danny McBride writing it, so we have moments in this movie like, Julian and the stuff he's saying. Like, I hear a lot of people say that this scene is really funny and they laugh every time. I've never laughed at this scene once. Maybe a quick, like that, at best, is that. I've never laughed out loud at this scene. It's just not funny to me. Like, I'm just clipping my nasty ass toenails, and then, it's too much when Myers shows up and he's like, oh shit! Like, that's too much. Like, there should be no more comedy when Myers is killing the babysitter. So, I don't like the humor in this movie. I just think there's a little too much and in the wrong moments. One question I do have is, why aren't Julian's parents taking him out trick-or-treating? Everyone outside the window that he can see is trick-or-treating, but he's the only kid in the neighborhood that's forced to stay home and be babysat while his, selfish parents, they're in Halloween costumes. They get to go to a Halloween party while their son stays at home and never gets to trick-or-treat. So he must have been grounded or something. What did he do to not be able to trick-or-treat? One line that just kind of confused me is when the new Linda here, Vicky, she goes, "You're totally gonna get dry fucked." What? This guy got a tattoo because he wants to get wet fucked. One thing I have to question here is, why did Myers go house to house just killing people at random, but then stop in the kid's closet? How long had he been up there? Like, we see that he's behind the sheets in the backyard, he's stalking and breathing. She sends him upstairs, but then he's already in the kid's closet. I don't know, how did he get up there, and how long has he been up there? How long was he planning to stay in there? Why is he in there? He should just keep killing. Boom, 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 just keep going. And I have to point out the convenience here that the one house that he finally just decides to park his ass in and just stay there, hiding in the kid's closet, just so happens to be the house that Allison's best friend is babysitting at. I mean, yeah, you could argue it's a small town, but still, a small town like Haddonfield would have hundreds of houses. Vicky's kills, fine, it's off camera, and I like the look of the green stuff shining on his mask when he does that kill, and then later on we see the new Bob kill, except now he's facing the wall this time, and it's through his neck, and the tattoo has a whole different meaning now. So then we get the shot where Laurie is seeing Myers for the first time in the mirror, and boy, is she a crack shot. She shoots him right in the face, but in the mirror. So she's a crack shot, and that's the one shot in the movie I read that Nick Castle is playing Michael Myers in this movie. It was just that one shot right there. Why did he put the pumpkin in the fish tank next to Vicky's body? He went downstairs to retrieve that, walked back up, and threw it in the fish tank this will look good. What the hell? And so then Laurie says, "Oh, so you're the new Loomis." I don't like that line, because this guy's not Loomis at all. He is the antithesis of Loomis. Complete opposite. This guy, he ain't no fucking Loomis. That's another line The Shape, where it's just for the fans. Oh, she said Loomis, and, she said The Shape. No, just take those two lines out, along with everything else I talked about before.
You know that I pray every night that he would escape.
What the hell do you do that for?
So I can kill him.
Another moment of dialogue I don't like is when she's like, "I pray that he would escape so that I could kill him," just further proving how insane she's become since that night. And I like that at least Will Patton's character, Hawkins, points out how stupid that prayer is. That's a dumb thing to pray for. It's yeah, you're praying that he'll escape, but the only way you'll know that he escaped is if he kills people. So you're hoping that people will die just so you can kill him and get revenge. It's pretty fucking selfish. He would have to kill a security guard and probably kill some other people along the way, multiple people, and then you would get wind of that to get your revenge. So you're praying for innocent lives to be taken away, just so you can get a little bit of a cathartic revenge. So yeah, I don't like that line. So then we get this scene with, the sheriff and the new Loomis driving around, very Halloween 2, them just driving around, and he's talking about his theories on Myers, and he kind of says something that made me think of the Cult of Thorn. He's like, maybe there's I can't do a good impersonation of this guy. I don't know where he's from. I think Turkey or something. He's like, maybe there's like a marching order, an unheard marching order. Like he's being directed to do what he's doing by something. And I was like, the Cult of Thorn? Is that what he's talking about? Another aspect of the writing I don't like here, and I don't get, is why Laurie makes her daughter and granddaughter go to her house, her trap. She's like basically using them as bait. It's like, I want you guys to go to the house where I know in my mind that Myers is going because he wants me, and I'm going to be there, so he's going to be there, and I want you there too, to be in danger. What? That doesn't make any sense. Like, realistically, the way this would have played out would have been like the end of H2O, where Laurie takes Josh Hartnett and Molly, and he goes, go down the street, drive away, I'll deal with Myers. But instead, in this movie, she's like, no, come to the house where it's going to be burning down pretty soon, and there's going to be a madman in there looking for me, and you're going to be in danger. I don't like that at all. That doesn't make any sense. It's just to get the three girls together. It's all just to, propel the plot forward to where they want it in the end. To have the three girls at the top of the stairs looking down the man like, yeah, we beat you. Like, they should not all three be there. This should just be Laurie's battle with Myers, and the other two should not be there.
Allison, I'm like really drunk right now. Seriously, I got really horny at the party, and like all these girls were like dancing on me. Their beautiful bodies got me all chubbed out, Allison.
Another thing I have some problems with when it comes to dialogue is the backyard scene. It's the humor again. It's the backyard with the motion sensor lights. And the motion sensor lights in this movie, they're so inconsistent. They're like on for a whole minute, and then they come off, they turn off, and then they come back on for like 5 seconds, and they turn off, and then they come on for 1 second and back off again, and then right back on. On, off. It's like, it's so inconsistent. But I get it. It's just for the scares, I get it. So, but nitpicky. But the dialogue. Him talking, oh, these girls got me all chubbed. I got hard on from that party, and I, blah, blah, blah. It was just too long, too much talking. It's like, this should have been a more scary scene, because you got Myers stalking. You hear him breathing in the mask. He's just in the distance. It's creepy. But then he's like, I got a hard dick from that party, and there was guacamole, and they were feeding me that shit in some sexy ways. No. Bad humor in the wrong spot. Take that out. It should not be here. I like that he says Mr. Elrod, though. Hey, Mr. Elrod. Call back to Halloween 2. His kill is one of the best in this movie. Unfortunately, it's kind of off camera, though. We see him get stabbed, but then we get the fence up his throat, like up underneath his chin, out his mouth. Great kill. Unique to the franchise. And then we get one of the best music cues in this moment, with that siren sound, and Allison sees Myers for the first time. She sees that the boogeyman has escaped, and she starts running down the street, kind of like her grandmother did at the end of Halloween, banging on doors, except this person actually answers the door, unlike that asshole in the original Halloween. But this is this is like the biggest wasted opportunity scene to me, because this should have been stretched out just a little bit, maybe an extra 30 seconds or so, and actually show Myers like following her. Because in this scene, it just looks like she's running from nobody. Like we're watching the opening of like It Follows, and she's just like running from some invisible person. Myers is not behind her at all. So he wasn't even following her. Like when he saw her run off, he probably just was like, I don't know who that was, but I'm going to go this way. So he never even thought twice about going after her. He just went somewhere else instead. So then we get the scene where Hawkins, he's in the car, he runs over Myers, very Halloween 4, and then he wants to put a hole in this motherfucker's face. So I like that. I like this character. I like that he kind of, feels guilty about it, because he's like, damn, I could have ended this 40 years ago, but I did. I did it by the book. I arrested him, and now I'm regretting that decision, so I'm going to kill him now. But then he gets prevented by Dr. Sartan, or Sartain, however you want to say it. I think Sartain, right? But he has this friggin' like secret knife pin and stabs him in the throat. And this is like the what the fuck, like kind of jump the shark moment in the movie. They reveal that he's the mastermind behind it. He just wants to observe Myers in the wild. And I get what they're going for here, but I don't like it. It feels, again, forced. The fact that this guy's this mad, he's this obsessed with Myers, he just wants him to talk, he wants to observe him in the wild, and he wants him to, for some reason, team up with, like, to go after Laurie, not team up, but, go after Laurie. Like, it's just forced. Like, we have to get them, now that they're not brother and sister no more, how do we get these two together if he's not looking for her anymore? He doesn't give a shit about her, despite her thinking that he does. How do we get this to happen? Well, we gotta make this guy fucking nuts. We gotta make Dr. Sartain, this Turkish Loomis, take him to her. And the fact that he, like, puts on the mask, too, bad. I don't like that. And then somehow, even though he's got, like, an arm in the sling from being shot earlier, and this guy's, like, old, and he's much smaller than Myers, he's somehow... So you go from a serious scene that's shocking, doing something that hasn't really been done in this franchise, something that shocking, and you go from that to the Halloween 5 cops here.
Oh, fresh brownie. Okay. Chocolatey homemade brownie. I made that myself.
That's like what a 5-year-old would eat if they could make their own lunch.
The tone is just all over the place. But interesting fact, the guy who's playing that cop is the effects artist, Christopher Nelson. So then we get the scene where he's driving knocked out Myers around with Allison, and Allison has to be in this scene because she has to be there to give him directions, because there's no way that he would know where Laurie lives. She gets him to stop the car, and he says Judith, and that's what, like, wakes him up. Maybe it's just like a coincidence, but it seems like that was like the secret word that broke him out of that, whatever, like it woke him up. So I like that. And he starts, instead of killing Allison, he wants to kill this guy like he knew what he did earlier. Like, you took the mask off of me, you dragged me on the ground like I was your little toy. Getting revenge on you. And he just starts kicking him a bunch. Then he drags him out. So it's like instant karma. Like, now I'm dragging you on the ground. And then we get this brutal, just amazing face stomp. It is absolutely gory.
Say something.
Die! So there's this miniature house inside Laurie's bedroom. Is that supposed to be like the Myers house? I keep looking at it, I'm like, what is that supposed to be? It's not her current house. It's not her house in the original Halloween. It looks closer to like maybe Myers' house. So maybe that's what it's supposed to be, but why would she have that in her bedroom? So then we get probably a lot of people's favorite kill in the movie. I like it, but I don't like the execution of the scene. It's maybe nitpicky, but I don't think so. Okay, so here's my problem with it. So the cop car pulls up. Ray looks at the surveillance. He sees that the car's there. He grabs the gun. Not even 5 seconds later, he's at the front door. This house isn't that big. So he walked around the corner, is immediately going outside to investigate, opens up the car door, and we see this like jack-o'-lantern head. What do you want to call it? The head-o'-lantern. I read that it's like a callback to like a Halloween comic book I've never read. So another callback here, but I think it's more of a callback to Terrifier. And I love that jack-o'-lantern head as well too. But okay, so he sees the jack-o'-lantern head and the other guy dead with his throat slit, and somehow Myers knew that there was a penknife on the doctor, so he grabbed the penknife off of the doctor and stabbed the head of the cop. So that was another thing I noticed. And so how this happened was somehow within like 5 seconds, Myers pulled up, had the dead bodies in the passenger seat, got out of the car, went around, grabbed the bodies, went back around, threw them in the driver's seat, and then stationed it all. Like, he had to get the flashlight, put it up. He had to station it in the way to look the way it does when he opens the door, and then shut the door and walk away towards like the patio and hide around the side to go grab like the things hanging so he could strangle him with those, all within like 5 seconds. That is just complete bullshit. And so then Ray is killed and no one seems to give a shit. Laurie sees it, I guess, and then is like, oh well. And then the wife is coming down the stairs like, where's Ray? And she's like, just go in the basement, forget Ray. He's not important, obviously. The attack through the door, though, is a pretty cool moment. I like this. It's very brutal, him just picking her up off the ground, slamming her head up against the door, and then she shoots off his fingers, so now he's going to be, like, missing a few fingers in the next 2 movies. So is that going to hinder his ability to kill? Obviously not. Another thing I noticed while watching this is that there's one shot in this movie where you can clearly see that in the basement there's light coming through a window. There is a window down there, so Myers can easily escape. That's probably how he's going to escape in the next movie. He's just going to see that one window over there and then, like, tear down whatever is in front of it, you know, because they have, like, a security thing there. It's not like a normal window. It has something there, but he can just tear that down and then just walk on out. So why is that there? If this is supposed to be like a foolproof plan, like if we can just get him in the basement and pull the lever, he's fucked. There's no other way in or out. Well, no, now there is, because there's a window, and he could probably break his way through that. So the fact that there's a window down there should not exist in this movie. That should not be there. I also don't like the fact that she just blind fires through the ceiling when she hears Myers walking above. Like, you're giving away your position. Like, Myers might not even know you have a basement, but now that you shot through the floor, he's like, oh, I guess there's somebody below. I gotta look for the secret door now. You just gave away the fact that there's this basement area and that's where you are. Then we get the scene with Allison running in the woods for like an hour. I guess she's trying to lure Michael away from the house because she knew that her grandmother's house was right down there. So she's like running and running in one direction, trying to lead him, you know, out in the woods to get lost. But then she bumps into the mannequins and she acts like she's seen the mannequins for the first time ever. She's like panicking, screaming like, oh my gosh, mannequins, it's my fear. Like, does she have like a fear of mannequins? Like, her reaction to that doesn't make much sense. Like, she's freaking the fuck out because of those mannequins. It's a weird, jarring scene to me. So I guess at some point Myers went back outside after walking around a bit inside. He went back out, grabbed Ray's body, walked back upstairs, and was like, I'm going to hide his body in the closet, because why not? I'm Michael Myers, and I like to be playful sometimes. We see that Laurie has all these mechanisms in the house where you hit a button and then the giant metal sliding door comes down, and she's like barely checking those rooms. And she kind of like peeks her head in, and she's like, it looks clear to me. Hits the button, and it's like, you should look a little longer than that. And then, you know, I like the scene where he comes from behind the mannequins. He's like blending in with them. He's like hiding behind one. And he just comes right through. Cool little jump scare, but not like a jump scare with like the stinger noise, because this movie doesn't do that. Just like the original Halloween, this one doesn't have like the stingers of modern day horror movies. It's just much more subtle than that. But this little fight between them, I like. She's putting up a hell of a fight, but then she gets thrown over the balcony, just like Myers in Halloween 1, and then he looks over, and now she's just missing. She's out there. Just like Halloween 1. And then, so then we get this moment with Karen where she kind of redeems her character a bit. You know, she went from that hippie thinking that everything was just peace and love on earth, and then she shoots Myers in the face like, gotcha.
Gotcha. Happy Halloween, Michael.
And then Laurie, just like Myers in the original, pops out of the shadows and says a Busta Rhymes line like, trick or treat, motherfucker. Except she says, you know, happy Halloween, Michael. Like, that's too much. Like, if I could take a line out, I already said plenty of lines that I could take. If I could take yet another line out of this movie, I would take that out, because it's just a little silly. Just come out of the shadows and say nothing, because why, you know, ruin the surprise and be like, hey, Michael, I'm right behind you. You know, you're giving him a little bit of a warning there by announcing your presence. Like, happy Halloween, Michael. Just attack him. Don't say anything. Just come out, hit him with the frying pan, and then knock him down the stairs. And then here, again, the writing. So this trap, this genius plan of hers, is banking not only on the crazy doctor shit, but it's also banking on them getting Myers down the stairs and then being able to get around him. It's not like there was a second exit for one of them to go up and then shut that door and lock it, and then the other one locks the other way. So it's like, now he's stuck down there. It's like, no, we have to go down there, and then, you know, when he goes down the stairs, we have to find a way to get around him real quick. That's a risky plan. You have 40 years to come up with this, and that's the best you came up with? And why burn down your entire house? You couldn't like build a room in 40 years that could just burn without taking out everything. Just burn the basement, have like a camera like in Saw that's like in the wall, and then you could like just watch from above to see that he burns. Watch until he's dead, confirmed 100%, and then you can leave, you know, and get the authorities or whatever and come back and still be able to live in your fucking house. Why burn the entire thing down? And this would have been a great moment for the movie to have like an emotional gut punch at the end and kill at least one of these three. You got 3 survivors here. One of them should have died. Like, you had Karen redeem her character, have that arc. She should have had a moment there and got herself killed. Sacrifice, you know, to save them. But no, we didn't get that. They all live, and maybe one of them will die in the next movie. Who knows? So kind of like the ending of Halloween 1, we get all these shots throughout the house, you know, showing all the different locations, and then we see that in the basement that's on fire, Myers is not there. So he's still alive. We don't know exactly where he is, but he's not there. He's out there. And at the very end of the credits, you can hear him breathing through his mask. I find it kind of interesting that the last shot of this movie is Allison holding the knife still, as if to suggest that, you know, unlike her grandmother, who kept dropping weapons all the time in Halloween, she holds on to that shit until she knows that the guy's dead. They should have called this movie Halloween Member Berries, because there's so many things in here that make you go, oh, I remember that from Halloween 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6. There's so much in here. So here we go. Here's all the Easter eggs and callbacks and shit that I didn't already talk about. So let's start. Loonies are raving just like Marion said that she does not like. Laurie says that's the idea, like Loomis. Allison's boyfriend's dad is Lonnie Elam. We get a tracking shot of the 3 teens walking to school in the morning. Laurie's drinking wine like an alcoholic at a restaurant. Laurie has the same hat on her wall and a Raggedy Ann doll on her bed. Just the Two of Us is playing on the truck radio with the kid and his dad, the song that Laurie was singing in the original. The death of the kid is very similar to Annie's, and it's even shot very similar. The sheriff says, what are we going to do, cancel Halloween? Which Halloween was canceled in part 6. There's a van outside the filling station that says Resurrection. We get a long tracking shot like the opening of Halloween. Myers bumps into kids, startling them. There's a kid holding a boombox dressed as a cowboy. There's a kid dressed as a pirate. You can hear the poem about ghosts and goblins during the tracking shot, a nod to the opening of Halloween. We get a hammer kill just like the cop in Halloween 2. There's a woman dressed just like Mrs. Elrod, and she's making a ham sandwich. Myers walks by a crying child like in the hospital. There's a woman on the phone with a girl named Sally who hears bad news before getting killed with a knife. The street where Myers goes on a rampage is on Meridian Avenue, the location of the original Myers house. Babysitting on Halloween night, wanting to get high, and wearing a similar shirt as Tommy. Myers stalking behind sheets in Julian's backyard. The name of the fake horse is Tate, Laurie's fake name in H2O. Myers hiding in a kid's bedroom. 3 kids are trick-or-treating in the Halloween 3 mask. Vicky's body is underneath a ghost sheet with eyes poked out. Laurie bumps into a cop yelling, Jesus Christ. Myers kills a victim using a fence. The crazy doctor twist. Laurie hides her kids before going to confront Myers. Myers at the top of the staircase. Myers sitting up. Myers gets shot in the face and survives. And Myers is seemingly killed by fire like the end of Halloween 2. So there you go. There's all the callbacks and nods that I could think of. I'm sure I missed 1 or 2, but there you go. Let me know what you thought about this movie in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit the like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's just an opinion. You don't need to get butthurt about it.